With that, we're going to begin with roll call. Madam Secretary, would you please call the roll?
Representative Branscombe.
Here.
Representative Bridges.
Here.
Representative Elliott. Representative Fleming. Representative Hale.
Here.
Representative Heverin. Representative Hodgson. Representative Huff.
Here.
Representative Imes.
Here.
Representative Lewis.
Here.
Representative McCool.
Here.
Representative Neighbors. Here. Representative Palumbo.
Here.
Representative Roberts.
Here.
Representative Smith. Representative Swan. Representative Tackett Lafferty. Representative Thomas.
Aye. Here.
Representative Upchurch.
Here.
Representative Wesley.
Here.
Representative Williams.
Here.
Vice Chair Dixon.
Here.
Chairman Blanton.
Here. It appears we have a quorum present and are duly constituted to conduct our business today. Let me begin by welcoming all the new members of the committee. We have several new members this year on the committee, including myself. And as a matter of fact, 9 of our 23 members are new. And I look forward to a productive session with them. And allow me to take just a moment and introduce those. Obviously, myself, Representative Elliott, new to the committee, Representative Hodgson, who is a newly elected member to the House, Representative Imes, Representative Neighbors, who is also a newly elected representative, Representative Roberts, Representative Swan, who is also a newly elected representative in the House, Representative Wesley, and Representative Williams, another newly elected member. So welcome. We glad to have all of y'all part of this committee. And in addition to myself as the new chair, the chairman, the committee is fortunate to have Representative Dixon, a veteran of this committee, serving as our vice chair this year. We plan on working closely and have been with Representative Dixon throughout this year and in the future to help us as we guide this committee along. I would also like to make sure the members are familiar with our committee staff who are here to help you with any research requests, constituent questions, or bill and amendment drafts. We have with us committee staff administrator John Snyder, legislative analysis Dana Fugazi and Ashley Nash, and committee assistant Christina Williams. So welcome and thank you all for all that you do for each and every one of us. Now at this time, before we get started, I'd like to go over a few procedural items in this committee. Please make sure when you're in a committee meeting that you silence your phones. When one goes off, we will call upon you to see what's so important to find out for the rest of the committee. So please make sure you silence your phones. If you wish to be recognized, just make sure that you get the attention of John or Christina members, and we will be sure and get you on the list for questions. When you're called on, please make sure that you route your questions through the chair. Don't want members engaging in cross-examination in committee. It's not what we do, right? This committee will observe the 24-hour rule for amendments in committee for our regularly scheduled meetings. Each Monday prior to one of our meetings, members will receive an agenda along with any amendments the committee will hear at the meeting and other relevant meeting materials. All these materials will also be on the committee's web page. And let me also point out, if you're running a piece of legislation that may come through this committee, I'm asking that if there's any changes to be made in that piece of legislation, that they be addressed through a committee substitute, not waiting to get on the House floor for amendments. We're trying to limit the House floor amendments this year as much as possible. So I'm asking if the bill isn't ready through committee sub, then there's probably a good chance we're not going to move it until that is resolved and the committee sub in place. With that being said, I'm going to ask if our members of the committee have any guests they'd like to recognize before we get started. Seeing none, first on our agenda is House Bill 13. an act relating to requirements for school bus licensing sponsored by Representative King. Representative King is making her way to the table with her guest.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. It is a pleasure to be with you all this afternoon. And while I'm not a member of this committee, I do have special guests, if I may take a quick moment and introduce them.
Please do so.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Just behind me, we have the Washington County Gifted and Talented Group, and their leaders today are Allison Carney, Cabrina Buckman, and Melissa Richardson. And also hiding behind the pole is my husband, Kerry King. So thank you for allowing us to be with you today. I also have very special guests from Jessamine County, and I'll let them introduce themselves here in just a moment. But I think everybody is aware of the dire need for additional bus drivers, school bus drivers across the state, and I would love to have my special guest introduce themselves, and we will proceed with your permission.
I've never been referred to as a very special guest, but I'm going to embrace it. I'm Matt Moore, Superintendent for Jessamine County Schools. Thank you for letting me be here today.
And I'm Matthew Simpson. I'm the Director of Transportation for Jessamine County Schools. Thank you all.
Today we bring House Bill 13 that we all agree will really help with the school bus driver shortage across the Commonwealth. If you'll look at your one-page piece of legislation, the only change is there on lines 15 and 16, simply changing an annual physical fitness examination to 24 months. And with that, I would love for my very special guest to explain the need and how this will correct some of that problem and will continue to keep the safety of the students first and foremost.
What we have found is that in most cases when we have bus drivers that are getting their physicals with the doctors, if there is a need for something sooner than 24 months, the doctors will initiate that. So we feel like getting the medical professionals' advice on when to come back for a physical will provide us much more opportunities to keep our bus drivers on the road. I'll give you an example. We have several bus drivers that are in good health, and in their effort to try to schedule this additional physical, we are encountering times where they are put on a waiting list because a doctor can't take them quickly enough, and it may be that we have 2 weeks, 3 weeks to where we can't get the bus drivers in the buses because of the hold on the physical. And again, we're talking about healthy bus drivers that have been cleared by the physician or by their doctors. So any consideration in passing this bill would be greatly appreciated.
Motion on the bill.
Motion. Who made the motion? Huff, Representative Huff, second by Representative Heverin. Any members have any questions? Representative McCool.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I understand. I think I understand what you're doing, and understand how difficult that could be. But I do have some reservations, changing from 12 months to 24 months. And it just is a concern to me. The reason that they do a physical is to see if you're physically fit to drive the bus, which is a very, very important job. And we all know that, and we all agree upon that. No question about that. But if you could find something that, if I were to be your bus driver, and you found something that probably could hinder my abilities, then you'd find out sooner in that 1 year time period than you would extend it over 2 years. And, hopefully nothing would ever happen, but I just have some reservations about extending that time frame when it could impact, hopefully never would again, the safety conditions of the bus driver who drives their children to school. That's my reservation. Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you.
Representative Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. This is more of a question towards bus drivers. I haven't had the opportunity to serve on transportation last session, but this is the first time we brought up the bus driving concerns. I guess the director, can could you tell me what you do with your bus drivers as far as health insurance? In my county, a lot of them drive the bus for health insurance.
Absolutely.
And so we wonder why there's a shortage. Actually, they work for nothing.
Sure.
Because if I'm right, and if I'm wrong, I want you to correct me, but my understanding is that they take the job so they can get a family plan so their family's covered for health care, and at the end of the month when the check comes, they either have to pay a little bit more towards the health insurance, or maybe it comes out even. But can you elaborate on what you're up against?
Sure.
On, if you don't mind, Mr. Chairman, if this is open for discussion on this. I know that doesn't relate to the bill, but if you don't mind, I'd like to hear what, we have an issue with shortage of bus drivers, and I thought this might be the opportunity for the committee to hear, maybe what the concern is.
It is outside the scope of this bill, but for conversation of shortage of bus drivers, a brief explanation.
Sure, absolutely. In our district, anyone who works at least 20 hours is considered full-time and is eligible for benefits. We do have some drivers that they only want that 20 hours so that they can be eligible for benefits. In fact, we don't typically hire anyone that doesn't work at least 20 hours. So many are working for the benefits. I just was working with our group to try and do a social media marketing campaign and trying to create a top 10 list of why you want to work in transportation. And a lot of those responses, probably half of them, said the benefits, health insurance. And one driver went so far to say, if you made it free for drivers, you wouldn't have any recruitment problem. So it's definitely a concern, and that is a lot of the reason why we have the employees that we do in transportation.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Representative Thomas.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Can I ask a question?
Yes, sir.
All right. I have my medical card and my Class A CDL too, but mine is for medical purposes. Would the doctor still have the ability, in case someone's on blood pressure medicine, to doing it? So this is, I mean, if you're in good health and you pass everything, the eye exam and everything else, this would be 24 months. But if not, they still they can back it up to a year, can't they?
Yes, sir. And we've had several bus drivers where the doctor may say, we want you to come back in 6 months to check on something. So we do have several bus drivers and several employees just in general that are requested to come back more frequently than even the 24-month.
Okay, that was my concern. I think Representative McCool, that was, it can be less if there is medical incidency, right? So I appreciate that. Thank you.
Seeing no other questions, ask Madam Secretary to call the roll.
Representative Branscombe,
Yes.
Representative Bridges,
Yes.
Representative Dixon. Yes. Representative Elliott. Representative Fleming. Representative Hale.
Yes.
Representative Heverin.
Present. Or, sorry, yes. It's Tuesday.
Representative Hodgson.
Aye.
Representative Huff.
Yes.
Representative Imes.
Yes.
Representative Lewis.
Yes.
Representative McCool.
No.
Representative Neighbors.
Yes.
Representative Palumbo.
Yes, and I thank the chair of tourism for reaching out to me.
Representative Roberts.
Yes.
Representative Smith. Representative Swan.
Yes.
Representative Tackett Lafferty.
Yes.
Representative Thomas.
Aye.
Representative Upchurch.
Yes.
Representative Wesley.
Yes.
Representative Williams.
Aye.
Chairman Blanton.
Aye. House Bill 13 is reported with favorable expression. The same should do so on the floor. Thank you all.
We thank you for your consideration. May I be excused to go to the Capitol with my friends from Washington County?
You may be excused.
Thank you.
Thank
Thank
you,
you all.
Representative King. And thank you for Carrie for being here. Next on our agenda will be House Concurrent Resolution 5. It is a concurrent resolution expressing support for the Jones Act, sponsored by Representative Bridges, as he and his guest will make their way to the table. And Representative Bridges, if you will introduce yourself and your guest.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Excuse me. Since Representative King had the ability to introduce her special guest, I'd like to introduce to you my important guest. But I'm Representative Randy Bridges. I'm from District 3 down in Paducah, and I have two guests with me, and I'm actually going to ask my important guest to introduce himself.
Good afternoon. My name is Andrew Brown. I'm the Senior Vice President and General Counsel of Ingram Barge Company, and pleased to be here.
Good afternoon. Caleb King. I am the President of the International Propeller Club, located in Paducah, Kentucky. We represent the maritime industry across the state of Kentucky and beyond, actually.
Welcome, gentlemen. You may begin.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'm just going to share a couple of short facts and turn it over to these gentlemen, but many people don't realize how important the maritime industry is here in Kentucky, and I just want to share with you a few numbers. First off, Kentucky, we have 664 miles of the northern state line that borders us is in Ohio River, is the Ohio River, and there's over 1,900 navigable inland waterway miles in the state, in our Commonwealth. So the other thing, most Kentuckians don't know that Kentucky ranks 5th in all states per capita with American domestic maritime jobs. The industry employs more than 20,700 individuals. It has an estimated 1.25 billion, that's not million, that's billion, in annual income, and the industry sector adds an estimated 5.1 billion to the state's economy, moving more than 108 million tons of freight, and the freight is valued at $11.9 billion, and up until a few years ago, that is as much as what our whole state budget was. So people ask me all the time, why are you so interested in this? And these numbers speak for themselves. With that, I'm going to turn it over and let these gentlemen share their expertise with us.
Thank you, Representative Bridges. So in support of HCR 5,
Motion on the bill.
We have a motion on the bill, and I think the presentation, they've been experienced. Maybe they've been here before. So is there any questions? Who made the motion? You got it? All right, very good. Motion been made. Is there any questions? Representative Hale.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. May I ask a question about the industry, not so much about the resolution? Just real quickly.
Sure, briefly.
In the interim this year, we had some testimony that was brought before our interim committee about, at that point, I can't remember exactly what month that meeting was, but about the water level being so low that a lot of the barge traffic was not able to maneuver in certain areas. Has that improved, and what kind of an impact did that have when you weren't able to move some of your large barge freight on that?
Thank you for the question, Representative Hale. That was October when I was here to speak with some others. And since October, the water levels have greatly recovered. During that period of time, for all of Q4, the ability to move large amounts of cargo in our tows was greatly reduced. Thankfully, the Corps of Engineers stepped up and did a very effective job dredging out some of the shallow areas on the Mississippi River. And so we were able to maintain continuity of operations and bring the agricultural products from Kentucky and the Heartland down to New Orleans so it could be exported to world markets.
Just one real quick follow-up. So it has improved significantly then, is that correct?
That's correct. We're still not back to what we consider comfortable levels, but compared to where we were in October, we have rebounded.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Anyone else have a question? If not, with Representative Thomas.
Watching that train derailment up in Ohio, close to the Ohio River, I've had some people reach out. There's some bad chemicals that could leach into the Ohio, which means it's coming this way. Do y'all have concern for that, or is that anything? I know it's a little off topic, but being the Propeller Club and stuff. I'm sure it's recreational also. Y'all do.
Yes, sir. Recreational traffic and commercial traffic have to commingle on the navigable waterways. It's interestingly enough that the Propeller Club in Louisville has a pretty strong presence with the pleasure craft industry. In Paducah, we're a little heavier on the industry side of things because that's the hub of the Western Rivers, if you will, for where most of the, or many of the barge industries either have home headquarters or at least operational headquarters. So the interest, while I don't know about the rail industry, I can tell you that there are numbers that would show that moving products by the river is the safest, most economical way to do it and the most environmental friendly way to move those commodities by bulk. And we're talking a lot of commodities, from grain, rock, coal, petrochemicals, oil, and it just goes on. There's break bulk products of all types that could go in barges. So I would just emphasize back to the chairman and the committee that keep in mind that Jones Act is important, and we know that we've got a movement on that. But I don't think it's something that we would be as worried about in our river industry.
No other questions, and a motion and second having been made on the resolution. Madam Secretary, would you call the roll, please?
Representative Branscombe?
Yes.
Representative Bridges?
Yes.
Representative Dixon? Representative Elliott? Representative Fleming? Representative Hale?
Yes.
Representative Hevron?
Yes.
Representative Hodgson?
Aye.
Representative Huff?
Yes.
Representative Imes?
Yes.
Representative Lewis?
Yes.
Representative McCool?
Yes.
Representative Neighbors? Representative Palumbo?
Yes.
Representative Roberts?
Yes.
Representative Smith? Representative Swan?
Yes.
Representative Tackett Lafferty?
Yes.
Representative Thomas?
Aye.
Representative Upchurch?
Yes.
Representative Wesley?
Yes.
Representative Williams?
Aye.
Chairman Blanton?
Aye. House Concurrent Resolution 5 is reported with favorable expressions. Same should do so on the floor.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and fellow committee members.
Thank you all. Going to take a very brief pause here for just a minute for those committee members who may have came in after the roll call and you'd like to mark your presence on the roll. Okay, so he's saying he's got you marked present, but are you good with that, Representative?
I am. Thank you so much for indulging that question, Chairman.
Okay, very good. Thank you. All right. Next on the agenda is review of administrative regulations. We have two regulations for the Committee on Review on our agenda today. Those are 600 KAR 4 /0110 regarding certification of disadvantaged businesses and enterprises, and 603 KAR 5 /350 regarding off-highway vehicle safety and routes. Members were sent a regs packet prior to the meeting, and that packet is in your folder. We have John Johnson with the KYTC here to answer any questions the members might have. And the way we handle the regulations for new members, this is the final step in the reg review process. We will review the regulations. Members may ask any questions they may have. The committees do not approve administrative regulations. If no objections are raised, the regs will take effect after the meeting where our counterparts in the Senate do their review. The committee also has the option of deferring or amending the regulations with the agreement of the agency or finding the regulation deficient. Although those instances are not common. Is there any questions about these regs? John, you want to take real quick and just explain what the regs do for the committee members? And introduce your guest, please. John, turn your mic on, please.
John Johnson, Office of Legal Services, Kentucky Transportation Cabinet. And I'm here with Executive Director Melvin Bynes and Branch Manager Jared Stanley, both of whom worked with us on these regulations and their preparation. And Mr. Chairman, these have gone through the ARS committee during the interim. I wanted to let you know that. You
Okay.
probably knew that, Doug.
Very
didn't you?
good.
Thank
Yes,
you.
sir. Is there anything specific that the members, you'd like to point out to the members about the regs?
Well, let's start with the first one on the list. That's the off-road highway vehicle regulation. It tracks the amendments to KRS 189-281 and establishes procedures to follow on the pilot program to set up local government's ability to use state highway or portions of state highway roads that are allowed pursuant to the regulation and statute to be used in coordination with local governments and the Transportation Cabinet. Lays out the procedure, starts with a petition, how to do that, how to rescind petitions, how the petitions are approved, what their rights are, what safety measures have to be made by the local government, as well as appeal procedures. Starts at the district level, moves to the central office. And that tracks the original legislation for that bill.
Very good.
Thank you. The second regulation is a regulation dealing with we've received suggestions, let me begin with this, from the Federal Highway Administration regarding some changes that need to be made in the appeals process. Before, it was in writing, but obviously with the advent of COVID and other pandemics which may persist in the future, we've changed that appeals are to be done by email now, and we give the address to that location. That was not in here before. We reconstituted the certification committee. What we found upon review was a certification committee, and the committee that reviewed the certification committee there were overlap, and essentially what happened is the audits and the OLS were on both committees, so we thought that was a conflict. We reconstituted the certification committee, moved audits and the Office of Legal Services on the review process of that in case there's an appeal.
Okay.
That's essentially what that amendment consists of.
Thank you for very thorough explanations. Any of the members have any questions? If not, let the record reflect that the committee has reviewed these regulations. Do we have any other issues to come before the committee today? If not, John, thank you. Gentlemen, thank you all for being here.